Hello, Accounting Superstars. This is Professor Don Bush from the Accounting Superstar channel. I've been a professor for about 30 years and a CPA for about that long, and I've got great ways to explain accounting, so welcome aboard. Hey, today is a beautiful day in Colorado. Lovely, just lovely. And I've got a few pictures here of Regis University. This is where I'm a professor, and been teaching there for about 27 years approximately. Beautiful place. It's an oasis in the city. So today's lesson is about manufacturing overhead variances. And I've got to tell you that it's not easy. Okay, this is not going to be an easy lesson. And it's something that I've struggled with over the years. Most of this stuff I can do in my sleep. It is so easy. And most of the stuff I can explain it really easy. But these overhead variances, they're tough, and I don't know of anyone who thinks they're easy right off the bat. But I do have a good way to explain it. Okay, I've got the best way to explain it, probably better than your book, certainly better than that. So let's get started. So overhead variances, they can be divided up into two variances, just like the labor materials variances. And but they're named a little weird, and they're hard to really understand. So here's what's going on. We've got the Sunset Sailboat Company. And before I go down to this information, we're going to figure out the overhead variances for the maintenance department. So here's a maintenance guy. What his job is? His job is to keep the factory running. So he does not work on boats. He does not build boats. He never builds boats. But his job is to keep the factory running. And it's a very busy job. It's a tough job. And he's got to be skilled in a lot of different areas, like pneumatics, hydraulics, electrical work, plumbing, just anything you can imagine. Working on machineries. He's got to be a master of all trades, good at welding. I really respect these people that do this maintenance work in factories. Now, I'm not talking about maintenance like cleaning out the bathrooms. I'm talking about really heavy-duty mechanical work here. And these guys are good. I've seen them work. They're amazing. So anyways, they're considered indirect labor because they don't work on the boats, but they're very, very important. The factory wouldn't last long without them. So let's figure out the overhead variances. Here we go. So what I have here in the pink box here, these are the budget numbers. And I'm not going to go into detail because we're going to hit them pretty hard here in a minute. But these are the budget totals. And in the upper section, we've got variable overhead, and in the bottom section is the fixed overhead. And as I've told you guys many times before in these videos, you could rename managerial accounting and call it how fixed costs screw up accounting, because they do. They're the hardest part of accounting, I think, the fixed costs. They just mess things up. And they mess things up here too. They make things complicated. Now, down below here, I've got what actually happened during the month, and I've got it split into the variable costs up above and the fixed costs down below. So we'll see what happens here. So what we need to do is we need to fill in a chart, and this is the easiest way I know how to do it. All right. So here's my chart, and by filling in this chart, we'll be able to figure out these variances. It's a little involved. Apologize for it. So here is what's happening. So the expected capacity for the month, that is the normal capacity, is right here, and I'm going to highlight it so it stands out. 650 indirect labor hours. So in other words, we're talking about the maintenance department, and they're considered indirect labor. So during any given month, those guys are expected to work 650 hours altogether. Not individually, but all together as a group. So, and the actual number of hours is 680. So they had to work a little bit more than normal. So so let's see here. Let's see what's going on. Let's fill in the budget here, and we're going to fill in the budget numbers here at the normal capacity, okay, the normal hours. So I need to split the screen so we can see things. Variable costs, and we're going to fill them in. These are the budget numbers at normal capacity. And that would be these numbers right here. So for instance, indirect maintenance labor hours, well, that number comes from right here. And this is from the given information from the accounting records here. So let's fill that in. And the electric power costs, there you go, 600, put that into place. And let's fill in the indirect materials. And there we are, highlight that, $20,000. And let's add up the total, and the grand total is $45,600. There we are, and it matches, right? So we know we did a good job. Now, in reality, there's probably many more variable costs involved with the maintenance department, but I'm just trying to keep it easy here, okay? Now, what we need to do is we need to get things comparable. You see, the budget was made out at 650 normal capacity hours, but they didn't work normal capacity hours. They worked 680 hours. So we need to convert this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take each number and divide it by 650. So 25,000 divided by 650 is $38.46. And $600 divided by 650 hours is, here we go, 92 cents per hour. And $20,000 divided by 650 hours is $30.77. And the grand total, $70.15. So we could divide or we could add it up. We should get pretty close to the same number. So now what we're going to do is we're going to convert these numbers on an hourly basis to 680 hours. So here's what we do. $38.46 times 680. This is, if you're wondering, this is the exact same thing as a flexible budget. Identical. 92 cents times 680 hours. $30.70 per hour times 680 hours. $70.15 times 680 hours. There we go. So, grand total. There we are. So, here's what we're going to do is we're going to compare it against the actual, because now we can compare apples with apples. We can compare the budget at 680 hours with the actual at 680 hours. So in the blue here are the actual costs. So the indirect maintenance wages here, the indirect labor, $32,500. $32,500. And the electric power costs, $750. The indirect materials, $18,500. And the grand total is $51,750. So all these numbers simply came from here. That's all we did. Copied them down. So now what we're going to do is figure out the variances. Now we're doing this just for the variable costs. So in the blue here is actual, in the pink is budget. And we're hoping that the actual is lower than budget, right? That would be nice. That'd be favorable. But for the indirect maintenance labor, look at this here. $32,500 was actual. $26,154 was the budget. So they are way over budget. So this is going to be unfavorable. All right. And then the electric power costs, $750 was the actual, $628 was budgeted. That's over budget, $122. And the indirect materials, they budgeted $20,923, but turned out $18,005, so they're under budget. So that's pretty sweet. Now we're not going to total this up at this point in time. We'll total it up here in a little bit. Let's come down to the fixed costs. So this first column here is the fixed costs. Let me get the title. So here's the budget at 650 hours. So let's find the fixed cost budget. Now fixed costs are fixed. They should stay the same. Budgeted fixed costs for March. So the maintenance supervisor salary, insurance, $510. We get it right from there. Depreciation on the maintenance tools and equipment. 2,000. Drop it into place. And the grand total, ladies and gentlemen, should be 10,260, which it is right from there. Now, fixed costs are supposed to be fixed, right? They're supposed to be the same. They're not supposed to change with activity, right? So on a per hour basis, I'm going to just write not applicable, all right? Because they're supposed to be fixed. So regardless if we work 650 hours or 680 hours, the fixed overhead cost should be the same. So I just copied the numbers over. So you can check, they're the same. I didn't change them. Let's see what actually happened though. Well, here's what actually happened, folks. The maintenance supervisor salary was $8,000. Maybe he or she got a raise. And the insurance was $510, which was what we were expecting. The depreciation on the tools was $2,000, which is what we were expecting. And so the total is $10,510. It looks like the only fixed cost that was different was the maintenance supervisor salary. Other than that, things went according to plan. So let's figure out the variances. Well, for most of them, it's going to be pretty easy. So for the maintenance supervisor salary, the budget was $7,750. The actual was $8,000, so they were over budget. So that's unfavorable. There we are. But the others, there was no change. No change at all. All right. So now let's get some totals here. All right. So we've got some variable cost variances and one fixed cost variance. Let's get some totals. Here we go. So all I did was add up the columns. And now I'm going to net them out. Net them out. And it looks like the unfavorable is a little bigger. Look at that. Unfavorable. Unfavorable is a little bigger. So let's put that right here. 4,295. All I did was find the difference between the two. And since unfavorable was bigger, I put it in the unfavorable column. So this is called the net maintenance department overhead controllable variance. So this is it, guys. So this is pretty easy here. This one is fairly straightforward, easy to understand. And the reason why it's called controllable variance is because the people in the maintenance department more or less have control over this, all right, more or less. Now, for instance, the maintenance supervisor's salary, I'm sure he did not give, or she did not give himself or herself a raise, all right? And I bet that was approved by upper management. So actually, the maintenance department did not have control over that. And it could be that some of these indirect materials, just the prices went up and the maintenance department just couldn't help it. Or on the other hand, maybe they wasted some materials. That happens sometimes too. Maybe the electric power costs were more than expected. Maybe the price of electricity went up. So, but they call it the controllable variance because more or less the maintenance department has control over much of this. So let's go down to the second variance. Here it is. Now this is the one that's a little harder to understand, but I've got a good way to explain it. It's called the overhead, here we go. It's called the volume variance, all right? The volume variance. So in other words, it has to do with the amount of production, in a sense, the amount of predetermined overhead rate that was used. I know this is getting a little confusing and deep. Yeah, let's just go through it. I think it'll be easier if we go through it. Here we go. Fixed overhead variance calculation. So the actual hours worked. So the actual hours worked. Let's go up to the information again, just so we got it and just so we know where it is. So variable, actual variable cost. So the number of hours the maintenance department actually worked was 680. So they worked 680, less normal capacity hours. So what they normally work is 650. So let's see if we can find that. Normally they work 650 hours. There it is, right there. So that's what they normally work. Now, the actual hours worked over or under the normal capacity is 30. All right, so they work 30 more hours. So guys and gals, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you the clue. This is the clue right here. This number, this 30, since it's positive, since the actual numbers worked, is greater than the normal capacity, that is considered to be favorable. And that's the key. If you can remember that right there, if you can remember that they worked more than normal, that is considered favorable. In other words, they got more use out of their facilities. That's a good way to think of it. They use their facilities more. You know, it's not good to have a big giant factory and not use it, right? So they were in there working more than normal. So that's the way it's interpreted. But you sometimes have to dig in deeper. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the maintenance department had to work more because maybe they messed something up and they had to redo stuff. And that's not efficient. So, you know, whether it's favorable, unfavorable, you usually don't want to take it at face value. You want to look into it deeper. Still holds true that since the actual hours worked is greater than the normal capacity, we're going to consider that favorable for purposes of these variances. Budget fixed overhead at normal capacity. So the fixed overhead at normal capacity, let's find that. Here it is, right here. It's 10,260. I'll put it in a different color so it stands out a bit. A real pretty green color. All right. So budgeted fixed overhead at normal capacity is $10,260. Divide by the normal capacity work hours. Well, the normal capacity work hours is 650 hours, which is right there, right up there. I'll put that in green too. And we wrote it down right here also. All right, I'll put that in green too. I'll put everything in green. How's that? All right, so the normal capacity hours, 650. So let's do a little division. So what this means is overhead gets applied at a rate of $15.78. All right, $15.78 per indirect labor hour here in this case. So we're almost done. We're almost to the finish line here. So actual hours worked over or under the normal capacity, well, we figured that out. It's 30. We got it right from there. So I'll put it in nice, pretty gold color. Actual hours worked over under normal capacity, 30. Multiplied by the fixed overhead per hour, so $15.78 per hour. So there we are. And all we're going to do is we're going to multiply 30 times $15.78. Now, we might be wondering, well, where do we put it? Do we put it on the left side or the right side? Here's how you know. Well, the left side is favorable here, and the right side is unfavorable. So left side favorable, right side unfavorable. And what did I say just a moment ago? When this number is positive, we're going to call it favorable, all right? So 30 times 1578 is 474, so it's favorable. So let's now add everything up here, all right? Let's add it all up and get grand totals here. So here's what we have. So we've got this grand total right here. And you know, I think I'm going to put it in a bluish color. How's that? Just so it stands out a bit. All right. So we have this variance here, the net maintenance department overhead controllable variance, 4,295. That's the controllable variance because it's thought upon as being controllable by the maintenance department. And down here we've got the volume variance, meaning they got more efficiency out of their factory. Right there. Okay, so what we're doing is we're going to net this unfavorable variance with this favorable. So in other words, we're going to find the difference between the two. So the difference between 4,295 and 474 is going to end up being on the unfavorable side at 3,820. 22, so 3,822. And that's the total variance. Now, folks, I don't expect you to know this stuff after watching this video one time. It's too complicated. There's too much to it. What you may want to do is watch the video like 2 or 3 times until you really get it down. But this is really the easiest way I know of on how to explain it. And even still, I know I didn't explain it crystal clear because it really isn't crystal clear. Sometimes you can have a favorable variance and it's not a good thing, all right? So, but this is how you solve it. And for your class, your accounting class, this will help you get through your accounting class and do your homework. So check out the website, accountingsuperstars.com. I've got all these videos listed by topic. It'll make it a lot easier for you to find. Also, hit the like and subscribe button. That way, I know you like these videos. YouTube knows you like these videos, and they'll show you more videos. So check them out. Until next time, over and out.